Hello, welcome back to Acoustic Paradiso here on Anderton's TV. I am Ben, and it's nice to be here. Don't forget, before we start, to click the like and subscribe button and hit the little bell for notifications so you know when I'm going to be back on your computer screen talking about acoustic guitars, or in this case, talking about acoustic guitar amplifiers. Because today we're looking at this, which is the new Da Capo 75 amp, designed by Udo Roesner. I apologise for the pronunciation of his name. This is a pretty cool acoustic amp. Now, Udo was one of the designers and the kind of brains behind the very popular and kind of ubiquitous AER amplifiers. And this is his new venture. So let's look at what it has to offer, really. 75 watts. It's got analog preamps, and it's got a Class AB power amp that's 75 watts. It's got the big amp, and it's a Class AB analog amp. The idea being that you've got lots of headroom, and that way for acoustic instruments you can get a nice, loud, clean sound with no distortion or compression that you can get from kind of other amplifiers that use Class D amplification. Class D is not digital amps, by the way, it's just another class of amps, and the way it compresses sound is different to AB. And I mean, it's one of those things that is hard to quantify, but I think the general consensus of opinion is that Class AB amps tend to sound better. Wait for the comments to light up about that one. Okay, cool. So in terms of the speaker in here, you've got this dual cone speaker, sometimes called dual concentric. The science behind that is that instead of having a separate tweeter that takes care of the high frequencies and a mid-range speaker that does the kind of low end and mids, here you've got the mid-range speaker, and in the middle is the tweeter. So the idea being that all of your frequencies are coming from a single point source, and so you don't get any kind of trouble with crossover frequencies and all that type of thing that can make your guitar sound weird, basically. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that because it's not really necessary. All you need to know is that it makes it sound nice, which it does. Behind this, speakers behind that very tough grille. Like, in terms of a gigging amplifier, it looks like it's built really well. Great construction, very similar finish to other acoustic amps you may know. When we get to the nuts and bolts of it, it is a 2-channel amplifier. And each amp, as I said, has got an analog preamp. Channel 1 has controls for gain, then bass, middle and treble. The tone controls on this amplifier, it's all, you've got cut and boost available for the 3 bands of EQ. So I've plugged into channel 1. Both of the inputs on here are the combination XLR TRS inputs, so you can plug in with a jack or a mic cable, that's fine. And both channels actually have phantom power, which is turned on by default. You can, if you want to use a microphone that doesn't need phantom power or doesn't want phantom power, like a ribbon or something, you can open up the back and there's little dip switches or jumpers you can move around, which will turn off the phantom power. But by default, the phantom power is always switched on. I'm not using it, obviously, because I'm just plugging in my guitar into input 1 here. Gain is turned up to where it should be. And I'm going to go through the bass, middle and treble controls and the tone button to see what that does. So here we go, this is just straight down the line. Turn the volume up on here. So it sounds great. I'm really impressed with the overall kind of output of this thing. It sounds lovely in the room. Let's press the tone button. Now, from what I understand, the tone button takes out some of the lower and kind of low mid-range frequencies to emphasize the high end. Wow, doesn't it just? Not the kind of thing I would personally want to use on an acoustic guitar very much, but I can see how it might be helpful with certain instruments or pickup systems, I suppose. It's nice to be able to do it, but it's a bit bright for my taste. So that's channel 1, and it has, lots of shift. If I just reach over here, I'm going to turn the bass up and down on the EQ here. You can go quite easily from not enough bass to too much bass, and I have a feeling it's going to be the same. So this is middle all the way up. Yeah. And that's top end. So As you'd expect, it's a 3-band EQ that's tuned for kind of guitar and acoustic instrument frequencies. It works very well. You can cut or boost. That's helpful. I'm going to switch to channel 2 now. We'll see what happens there. So, channel 2 also has the XLR TRS combination jack. It's got the line and mic level switch, depending on what you're plugging in. Gain control. The EQ section does have the bass, middle and treble, which works the same way as channel 1. But in addition to that, on channel 2, you have a high-pass filter, which is really useful. If you don't know what a high-pass filter is, it does what it says on the tin, basically. When you turn it, it allows high frequencies through, to pass, and it takes out the low frequencies. So you can either think of it as a high-pass filter, or you can think of it as a low-cut filter, I suppose, if you want to. But it's marked as high-pass. I'm going to show you what it does. It basically gradually kind of takes the low end out further up the spectrum. So here we go. There we go. So there's a big difference there. So that's with the high-pass off. And this is with the high-pass turned all the way around. So, I mean, it does exactly what it says on the tin. The place I can see that being most useful is when you're using a microphone. I know a lot of people like to use a combination of pickups and kind of external microphones for their acoustic instruments. If I was doing that, I would definitely plug my pickup into channel 1 and I'd plug my microphone into channel 2, and then you can use the high pass to take out the low frequencies that can be problematic. So yeah, very practical, very useful. There's not much more to say about the channel EQs really, other than they do what you'd want a channel EQ and an amplifier to do. Moving to the effects section, working left to right, you've got a pan control here, which I think basically just routes the effects to channel 1 or channel 2, kind of more or less. So in the middle, where there's a detente on all of these controls, by the way, so you know where the middle is. And you can route the effects to the left to channel 1, channel 2. 6 effects available. You've got a short reverb, a long reverb, chorus, a custom delay, a tap delay, and then a delay and reverb together, I think. I can't remember which order they go in. You can control the tap delay, the tap tempo from the delay using an external foot switch, which is an optional extra, provided you have it configured in the correct way. We'll come on to the foot switches and stuff in a minute. For now, I'm just going to go through the effects and so you can hear what they do. So we'll start at number 1, which I believe is short reverb. Oh! So, EQ is flat, here's my reverb. It's okay, it's a reverb, you know. It's a bit bright for my taste, but most of them tend to be. So this is number 2. I think this is the long reverb. I'm going to leave... Oh no, that's the short reverb, definitely. That's pretty cool. I'm going to turn it up a bit, see how much more we can get in there. Yeah, so that's the short reverb completely maxed out. Pretty cool. Let's move on to effect number 3. I believe this is chorus. I'm going to turn it up quite loud so you can really hear what it does. Wow. That might be a bit too much. Let's take it back a bit. So. I don't know why anyone would ever want to put chorus on an acoustic guitar, but if you do, it's there. All right, there we go. That's my thoughts on chorus on acoustics. Now we're going on to a delay, I think. Ooh. Might turn that down a bit. pretty cool delay. Moving up. Oh. So I think this might be into the custom delay settings where we can change the tempo with a tap. But yeah, so that's fine. And I think this one, just another one of the delays. Yeah, I mean, I've got to confess, I'm not really an effects guy on acoustic. I like a bit of reverb. I never would normally use delay or chorus, but the ones in there seem fairly useful and usable. But if you want to access the tap tempo options, I believe you do need to use the external foot switch, which brings me on to the back panel. There's quite a few different things on here. Going from left to right across the back panel, there's a headphone output, which is very useful. The foot switch socket. Now, depending on what kind of foot switch you're using and what configuration you're using it in, it does various different things. You can use it for turning the effects on and off, and then you can use the ring of the TRS jack to affect things like tap tempo and stuff. So that's a very useful thing. It's got an effects loop, send and return on 1/4" jacks. It's got 2 line outputs. Now, line 2 is a line signal output, which is high level. So if you're feeding something like a mixing desk, that's the perfect one to use for that. Line 1 output is a line signal level at -10 dB. So that's ideal if you're plugging into something like a sound card where you really don't want to distort and overload the input. It's got an auxiliary input, which is a stereo, mini jack input if you want to play background music or whatever. And then it's got 2 DI outputs, and the DI outputs are for the 2 channels. So they're balanced XLR direct outputs that you can use to feed your mixing desk or whatever else you might want to do with it. So there we go. That is the back panel of the Udo Roesner Da Capo 75. Comes with a gig bag down there, so it's perfectly good for gigging. It's not very heavy. I can pick it up with one hand. It's really well built, and that's about all there is to say in it, really. Apart from it's a nice, solid sounding, well constructed amp. But I think there is one thing that everyone at home is almost certainly shouting at their laptops, and that is, how does it stack up against the other amplifier that looks almost identical? Let's find out, shall we? So there we go. That is the Da Capo 75. It comes with a nice kind of sturdy gig bag, so that's really helpful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, ring the little notification bell. And for the play out, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to play some fingerstyle and some strummy stuff. And we're going to A-B between this and the AER Compact 60. I'm not going to hear them both at once because I'm going to be playing them separately. So it's up to you to decide what sounds better. Leave a comment below and let us know. And we'll see you next time. All right.